This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, there he is, locked and loaded. Don't you think that Dolores Jordan might have done a better job than Michael Jordan running the Hornets?
Be difficult to do much worse, right? Because as an owner, Michael Jordan was a hell of a basketball player.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Feel free to borrow it.
That was good. That was good. That was good. I like it. I like it.
We'll be here all week.
Yes, that was good. I was talking about this. It's it's silliness. But I think it's a building block in life, for business. Like, when we go to the KSDT CPA offices, they have a lunchroom in that, and like their lunchroom for their offices is like, I swear to you, it's like 1,500 square feet. It's huge, right? But it has a foosball table. It has TVs. It has some video games there. It has some couches, all that kind of stuff. So they literally, when we're doing our show at times, there'll be like 6, 7 people that'll be taking a break, and 6 of them or 4 of them will walk over to the foosball and start playing foosball or something, and so they do all kinds of things to do bonding type of things in their business. And I think it's fantastic what KSDT CPAs do, right? And X doing his softball tournament, by the way, many layers to this. First of all, this, X has never been as outgoing as you've seen in the last 6 months since the arrival of his buddy on the other side, at quarterback. Some of his, I guess, contract issues, those things are past him now. That was an issue for several years. And I know he had the off the field issues, and I know he's still trying to clean up 1 or 2 of them or whatever. But overall, him to stand in front of the media and address and kind of carry an event like that, and then the importance of having the other players there and having fun with all of that. Yeah, it's all silliness. But I think it is a small building block to creating chemistry. And the football is like, you cover hockey. It's all about sacrifice. If you don't like each other and if you don't care for each other, you're not going to play with a broken foot and you're Aaron Ekblad. If the people are around you are assholes and you don't care about them or whatever, you're not going to sacrifice for your fellow guy. And I think that's what that goes. It goes farther in those kind of moments because of those bonding type of things. So your thoughts on, the whole softball event and X on top of all of that?
No, I agree with you that in and of itself, it's not going to win you a game in September or in October, but it's like a small piece of a big puzzle where, as you mentioned, if you have guys who are there for their own purposes, like I'm worried about me. If we win, great. If we don't, no big deal. That's totally different than, what, I want to win because I like the guys I'm playing with, and we're doing this as a team. And again, even if it makes I don't know, a 25% difference in one game, because maybe as you mentioned, somebody more willing to play hurt. And I think X actually, to me, crossed that line last year. And compare him to 2019. He played early on, wound up going on IR with the knee issue when the Dolphins were this was a whole year that was discombobulated. And then last year, he could have checked out pretty early because he wasn't right the whole year. And he stayed in there and he played even though he wasn't 100% and he wasn't able to be the X that he wants to be. And if you don't think there's ego involved in a cornerback wanting to shut down opposing receivers, you're crazy. And I'm not saying
they don't want to get embarrassed. They don't like getting embarrassed.
Correct. But it was like for X, it was more important. Let me try to help my guys win, even though I'm not completely right and I'm going to get beat more than I should. And I think that last year, and I think a big part of it for X was, first of all, the whole change in the culture of the team, number one. Number two, his contract situation was addressed to his satisfaction. And then you had another layer this year with Jalen Ramsey coming in. And, it's absolutely completely cool when you have, Tua shows up, Jalen Waddle shows up, Tyreek Hill shows up, Keon Crossan was there, Trill Williams was there. I don't know. I didn't attend, but I saw the list of everybody who was there.
Raekwon served himself up that he wasn't much of a baseball player.
There you go. Well, X is not either, because I asked X what kind of ball player he was, and he was like, no, I'm not hitting. You mentioned being afraid of the ball or something. It was like, okay, stick to football. You're a great cornerback. That's all you need to do. Yeah.
It's what we were talking about on Saturday, that it's we used to play with changing with the seasons, where some of these kids, their season never changes. They only play basketball or only football or only baseball. That's kind of the way, because there's a thinking now that you can reach your max by playing that one sport all the time. I kind of disagree with that, because I think all sports end up testing all kinds of your athleticism, your hand-eye coordination. And I think by playing all kinds of sports actually makes you better at any single sport, I think. But whatever, that's just...
No, I agree. And a lot of guys who are like all-timers are great in other sports. So you have a lot of football players who are like either good golfers, a couple of them. Drew Brees was almost like a great tennis player. It's a bad example because he wound up not being great in the NFL at quarterback, but Josh Rosen was like a national level type of tennis player when he was growing up too. So absolutely, I'm with you. I think the guys who play all different kinds of sports, once they get to a point where they zero in on the one sport that's going to make them their money, I think that's a benefit, not a detriment.
Jeff Conine, racquetball.
Okay.
Remember that? He was like a world-class racquetball player.
There you go.
Okay. And, that's batting and hitting a racquetball hand. That's all hand-eye coordination, man. I think that's all incredibly important. I think it's better for all of us as young, when we're young, to be playing as many sports as possible. It really, I think, fine-tunes you and makes you a better athlete overall. I was also enlightening folks out there, because as I was on that bandwagon from the get-go, telling everybody there will be no trade for Dalvin Cook. There will be no big money for Dalvin Cook. I said it over and over and over again, and I've given many examples for running backs. Now the latest is Joe Mixon, that the Bengals may turn to Joe Mixon and say, hey, we need you to take a pay cut even under your $10 million cap hit that you have this year. Yeah, it really is amazing, dude. No matter how productive or how great you might be, like Derrick Henry, brother, you can still find yourself without a home or somebody willing to give you money.
But here's the thing, though. Think of all the positions in football at the NFL level, for example. Is there one where the difference between different levels of player is as small as there is for running back? I think, you have a couple who are exceptional and can do things that other running backs can't do. But outside of that, I think the difference between, let's say, your 33rd running back in the NFL to your 67th is pretty damn small, and a lot smaller than other positions. And I think that's part of the issue. I mean, for example, Joe Mixon's really, really good. I think you could get another running back who may not be quite as good as Joe Mixon, but fairly similar in skill set, and you put him in that offense, and chances are the results are still going to be pretty good.
And I think and you're like me, right? It's like I try to tell fans, guys and ladies out there, I'm not so much worried about the running backs. I'm more worried about left guard and right tackle. Like, if you solve those two positions for me, and if Jackson and Eichenberg can play, then I don't give a shit if it's you, Poop, behind that line.
Oh, I can
You're
run.
Gonna get yours.
I can run. I got moves.
Huh?
I got
you
moves.
Got some moves. Okay, so I already know you have 3 good linemen. So if you find me a 4th and a 5th lineman, which, this is unheard of in Dolphin Nation to even have 5 good linemen. But if you really have the guy that can play the left guard and the guy that can play the right tackle, I think your running backs are going to kick ass anyway. It doesn't matter. It's not like Dalvin Cook is going to be that much more of a difference that it's going to result you going into the Super Bowl, when in the end, you're going to win your Super Bowl with your defense and this.
The passing game.
Because you're going to have to put up a lot of points in this league, dude. If you run into Pat Mahomes or you're going to run into other offenses, you're going to have to score in the air, man. More than anything, the ball on the ground complements. It doesn't dominate your offense.
No, and here's a question, and the point that I've made, and I've been with you all along on this. Dalvin Cook, let's not kid ourselves. We can all agree that Dalvin Cook joins the Dolphins. He's the best running back on the roster. There's no, I don't think it's okay. But the question becomes exactly how much better is he than Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson Jr. And again, what price are you willing to pay for that level of of improvement? Number one, number two, you have to have, because Dalvin Cook's made it clear he wants to be somewhere where he's going to be featured. Well, I don't know that any running backs
do that here
in this offense. Correct. So right away, that's not a good. The only reason Dalvin Cook to Miami is become so popular is because the kid's from Miami, the dude's from Miami.
Like always, everything from Miami gets like this magnified love that it's like you're fighting it every single time, dude. Jesus.
No, correct. And it's a popular destination. It's a good ascending team, no state tax. Half the league either lives in Miami or trains in Miami or spends time in Miami. So the connection is logical, but they're not going to sign everybody who becomes available just because they're from Miami. And again, if it wasn't for the Miami connection, it's not necessarily a logical fit.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Are you believing any of this stuff that Stefan Diggs is unhappy with his role in the offense? Is this just more about I want more balls thrown my way? Is that kind of what it's all about?
Well, I can believe. I have a hard time believing that has to do with his contract since it got redone last offseason. But here's the thing. It's not like he's not getting the ball. I mean, so –
I know.
And I like the high-carrying factor of Stefan Diggs. He's somebody who absolutely gives a shit. I think I likened them a little bit to Jarvis Landry last week. They're guys you want on your team because they want to win. They want to win bad. At times, maybe he does. Maybe he speaks out when maybe he shouldn't speak out, and it's also June. You really need to make an issue of it. And Sean McDermott maybe could have handled the whole thing differently than talking about being quote unquote very concerned about him not being there at that first minicamp practice on Tuesday. And if he doesn't throw that out there, this isn't half the story that it became.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a weird story, and again, he's kind of a temperamental character. You know what I'm saying? So I know he cares, but I think sometimes it gets to a point for some of these guys that they're it's not that it's overboard, it's an extreme thing that they're either extreme about what they're complaining about or what they're worried about. You know what I'm saying? It's just not nearly as bad as you make it out to be. And in the end, I think he's just more frustrated that they have a really good team and they fall short all the time and they don't make the deep runs into the playoffs. I think that's what, in the end, that's his problem there, that he sees all that talent. And we have to be honest. They've underachieved considering the talent that they have the last few years.
Yeah, but time out, though. Here's the thing. I agree with you to a certain degree. But let's also understand how they lost. 2 years ago, they lost because they mismanaged the last 13 seconds of the game on defense worse than but that's got nothing to do with offense. And Stefan Diggs can be as frustrated as he wants, but it's like, I mean, it was a shit show on defense with what they did. And then last year, number one, they had a guy basically die on the field to be brought back, and then you have to play with that in the back of your mind for a few weeks. And then the playoff game against Cincinnati, he can bitch all he wants about Josh Allen. They got the Bills got killed on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's where that game was lost. So
yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, what's he want to do? Wants to go play with the Chiefs? I mean, seriously, I mean, everybody on the Bills is frustrated that they've had. I mean, they were 13-3 last year, which everybody really kind of seems to forget about because of how bad they looked against Cincinnati in the playoffs. But it's still a damn good team. And I hate to break it to you, Stefan Diggs. They're not 5 teams better than the Bills. So maybe, I don't know, maybe be quiet and do your job. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think he's the guy that complains about losing and not reaching your peak. And I'm sure they're all at that point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because in the end, we have to look at it. No matter what your talent is, you have underachieved. It is what it is. And And whatever happened 2 years ago, you know, we could say that about Atlanta several years back, where you've got a 25-point lead.
Yes. Yeah, your connection broke.
Now I'm back. Okay.
You're back.
Here we are.
Where'd you go? Why'd you disappear on me?
I have no idea. Some funkiness is going on with the internet. But you look at it and you say, okay, so, you know, a couple years back, oh, Matt Ryan's a choker. Oh, the Falcons are chokers. Well, maybe your head coach is the choker. You had the 25-point lead. You should have been running the damn ball. You kept passing, and you set up your team to lose. So it's kind of the same thing with McDermott. So whether it's McDermott's fault, whether it's the players not living up to it, or whatever it is, Buffalo, considering the label we've given them, consider the way we look at them, they really haven't made the kind of deep runs that you thought a team this talented would make. That's all I'm saying. So maybe that's really what it's all about in the end. He can complain about touches and all that, but he's just frustrated that his team keeps falling short in the big games.
Okay, but again, so what's the end game here? He's not requesting a trade from. He's just venting. There's no point in venting, and I don't. This is why he gets overbearing, and guys like that will wear on the team. Like Jarvis also is another one who wants to win so badly and all that, and he wants the ball and all that. And at some point, it gets old, it gets tired, and you know, part of the reason the Dolphins wound up sending him away was he wanted a big money contract, and I think had he been a little bit more, I hate to use the term easier to manage, but maybe a little bit more discreet whenever he was unhappy and stuff like that, he made
realistic, because I had this discussion with our fans out there, and I had a shit ton of them thinking that, he deserves number one money. And I'm like, no, he's not a number one in any way, shape, or form. He's not explosive enough to ever be a number one. He's a mediocre number two. He's probably an ideal number three if you're really looking at it. Because if I look at, Clayton and Duper, he doesn't belong there. If I'm looking at Tyreek and Waddle, he's nowhere near those guys. You know what I'm saying? If I'm looking at Swan and Stallworth and Taylor and Rice, and I could just keep going and talking about duo.
You're throwing out all-timers now, though.
Well, that's what I look at. When I look at a one and a two, I'm looking at two explosive people. He's not an explosive player. He's a move the chains type of guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a slot guy.
He's an A+ slot. He's an A+ slot.
Oh, yes. That I will never argue with that, because his physicality that he brings to the table is special. So I'm with you. He's no Bobby Ingram, who's a fantastic number three, right? But never brought the physicality that brings. You know what I'm saying? So so I think he, at that moment when if we go back to those days, that was the discussion. And I think Landry was in his own mind thinking that he was an elite player, and when he just doesn't possess, those kind of explosive skills. And that's where I kind of had an issue with it. And you're right. The management, too, of the personality was not easy for Landry. But I also think there was an unrealistic, discussion going on. And some people thought he was a one or even a two. And then some of us, like myself, said, no, this guy's just an awesome slot is what he is. That's the way I would, love to put him. Because if I'm thinking, okay, OJ's a slot, and I'll take OJ outside and Irving Fryer over, Jarvis Landry, because OJ also brought toughness too. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. So I would have taken, a guy like OJ over him at number two. And so it's just one of those where I think it was a kind of tough time at that moment, because we were all having the discussion of where Landry fits and that salary. And I'm glad they never gave it to him, because he just really never lived up to that kind of salary.
No, correct. And mind you, he was highly productive for the Dolphins. Can't take that away from him, except like the yards per reception wasn't particularly high. And this is where I'm sure the Dolphins pointed when he was making his contract demands. And I'm sure he was pointing at the number of catches and the number of yards and the number of, third down conversions.
Christian Wilkins, There's some talk out there that they're not that close yet on a deal. Have you heard anything?
No, it's been pretty all quiet on the Western Front or Eastern Seashore Front right now. But no, and yeah, I've now steady in my new position, which is I don't expect anything to happen anytime soon. And again, it's the timing is like, I don't know if you want to call it weird, bad, good, but all these DTs getting paid. Quinton Williams still has to get paid. Chris Jones still has to get paid. And mind you, they're not exactly the same type of players, but they're defensive tackles. And Chris Jones is going to get a crap load of money. Quinton Williams, once they get his deal done, probably going to get a crap load of money. A bunch of guys have already gotten 20 million plus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm of the opinion the Dolphins need to see what he can, as we discussed last week, what he can provide in the pass rush, not just sack numbers, but affecting the quarterback as the term goes.
All is quiet on the Western Front. Now, this is the frustrating part about being a talk show host, right? You want to like freshen up your sayings, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the modern version of that?
That's a good question.
You see what I'm saying? This is the challenge for me on a daily basis. Like, I can modernize Spicoli. I can modernize Cheech by going to Spicoli, by then going to Snoop Dogg, and then going to Wiz Khalifa. So if I want to just, relate to a stoner, and I can relate to different generations, I have a platform. I have ways to go here. Where do I go with all is quiet on the Western Front? What is the modern day saying for that? And this happens to me all the time with different things. And I hate it. You don't want these sayings that then the young people are like, what? Who's this? Who's that? What is he talking about? And it's like, huh? And it's
that's on me. I mean, I probably lost half the audience there going, what the hell does that mean? I was quiet on
and then if I say Wiz Khalifa, then I'm going to lose old farts that have no idea who Wiz Khalifa is, but they know who Cheech is, and they might know who Spicoli is, but they don't know who Snoop or Wiz is. You know what I'm saying? Depending. I mean, it just
would they know if you're here and I'm here? Doesn't it make it our time?
Right, exactly, Mr. Hand. Yes. So it's almost like I'm going to alienate somebody if the saying is a little too new, and if it's too old, I'm going to alienate others. The challenges of doing a talk show.
Here's my suggestion to you: is prepare flashcards related to sayings you might throw out, and then put them out. Like I should have put it out like old Western movie when I said all quiet's on the Western Front. So the people would have been like, oh, okay, that's what that means.
Right, exactly. And can anybody tell me what would be the modern day saying that people would relate to all is quiet on the Western Front? Like what? I'd love to hear that one. Anyway, what do you got going on alldolphins.com so folks can check you out?
As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have, even though it's a dead season, we're going to have something on the site up every single solitary day today. I haven't put up anything yet, and in a little bit I am going to put up roster projection, 53-man roster projection 1.0 on alldolphins.com.
There you go. So check it out and follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. Alain, as always, appreciate you, my brother. Good to see you on Saturday. We'll catch up later on in the week. Appreciate you.
Right back at you. And I'll be looking up to see if I can come up with some equivalent of all quiet on the Western Front.
I need it. All right, Poop. Thanks for looking out, man. Appreciate you. And call my guy Eric at EJD Construction, Dade and Broward counties only. Sometimes some of our sponsors can help you out all over the country, like Essential Moving Experts, maybe KSDT CPA. They can help you out anywhere you're at. But when we talk about EJD Construction, we're hanging out with them on Saturday, and Eric, great cookout, man. Ooh, he did a great job with that barbecue. Ooh, he was roasting that pig. Ooh, so good. But anyway, Eric does an awesome job, but it's only Dade and Broward counties, folks. So give them a ring, 305-433-4843, custom home construction and major home remodeling. Call Eric at EJD Construction. They've got a AAA plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. They are the folks you want to call when you got to redo that entire kitchen. You want to add an addition to the home, do some of the things that some of our listeners have done or doing, which is creating a home theater with stadium seating inside, a backyard kitchen barbecue, a observation deck on your roof, which I think is the coolest thing, man. It's awesome. I mean, so many different things that you may want to do and take your home or your business to the next level. Custom home construction, major home remodeling, full contractor, ejdconstruction.com. Go to the Instagram page and check out a lot of their work. You'll be impressed. Call Eric, 305-433-4843.